Hi, everybody, it's Josh with Talk About Trek, and we are back today, happily back today, to talk about the first book in the Gateway Saga. This is book one of seven, One Small Step, by Susan Wright. Apparently, the beginning of a cosmic saga that spans the galaxy. And I have to say, I am happy to be back and sit here and talk to you about this book today, which I just finished up today. It has been a stressful week. Terribly stressful week. It's only Wednesday, for that matter. But do you know what is a great reliever of stress? Watching, reading, and talking about Star Trek. Because, God, I love Star Trek. It is wonderful. Um, this book, man, it was, first off, again, the start of a saga that we're getting into here. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's do the normal spiel here. So again, this is by Susan Wright. The concept by John Ordover and Robert Greenberger, who I'm sure you're all familiar with if you're here watching this channel. From the cover there, you can see a sort of gateway looking upon some sort of buildings there off in the distance. I have to say that the cover doesn't reflect anything that happens in the story whatsoever. So this is kind of a look forward maybe into what's going to happen in this saga. But let's read from the back here, as we always do. Scattered throughout the galaxy are gateways capable of transporting matter and energy across unfathomable distances, left behind by a long vanished civilization. Love those. These mysterious portals offer a means of exploration or conquest, many times faster than warp travel. The technology responsible for the gateways has been lost for at least 10 millennia, but that doesn't mean that it can't be found again. Gateways, one small step. Having defeated the hostile computer program guarding an abandoned Kalandan outpost, Kirk and his crew are exploring the artificial planetoid in hopes of discovering the secret of an ancient apparatus that has hurled the Starship Enterprise over nearly 1,000 light years. Unfortunately, the reactivated gateway has attracted the attention and avarice, ooh, I like that, avarice, of various alien explorers, including a mysterious race who claim to be none other than the enigmatic Kalandans themselves. Kalandans, yes, I got that. Kalandans themselves. So, first off, all right, y'all are going to say you're crazy for not knowing this, Josh, but this book, the prologue of this book, is basically the ending of the episode, third third season. I forget which exactly number, but That Which Survives. And I read the whole book without even knowing that. And again, I would have to say that out of all of the Star Trek that I have watched, I have repeat watched the TOS show the least amount. TNG, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, multiple rewatches. TOS, I think maybe one time through, and then I've seen a few episodes more than once. I know I need to remedy that, but I really had no idea. And it's kind of funny because the whole time when I was reading this book, I kept thinking, man, this seems like it's ripped right out of an episode. Well, it was ripped right out of an episode. And if you'd just done a little research, you would have figured that out. But that's okay, because I didn't really even need to know that reading the book. And in fact, it kind of was enjoyable to be able to read the whole thing, put all these images into my mind without even, referencing the episode, and then watching the episode and getting to see these references. So that's actually what I did just a couple hours ago before we got started here. I went ahead and loaded up The Lights of Zatar. And we are... wait, what did I say? The Lights of Zatar? No, That Which Survives. The Lights of Zatar is like the next episode. So this takes place on Stardate 5726.4. And again, just very cool how the prologue of the book is the end of the episode. So then, you're watching the episode and you think that after the end of that episode, everybody gets back on the Enterprise just fine, and they all, warp off to their next adventure. not so at all. So, well, for those who haven't seen it, I guess we'll kind of wait. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. I do things in a different order normally. Again, it's been a weird week. So, listen. One Small Step. A very, very fun TOS book. Susan Wright takes from that episode and expands upon it, extends upon it, uh, brings in this whole new species and this new angle. And there's so much, I don't know, I guess you could call it technobabble, but it's really good medical and science, and then just really well done technobabble. You know, that I think she does really well in these books, which brings us like this whole element. Like, see, one of the things that I guess was good about the situation I was in is I was able to finish the book today, and then I was left with a lot of extra time to kind of go back, reread some things, and look at some things again. And in fact, if you'll notice, I'll get you a glance into my notes here. Look at this. So here is the here's the notes for One Small Step. I went all the way down for a page, and then I went over back to this page where I had all this blank space, and I made some extra notes. So definitely a lot to talk about in this book. But again, without going into spoilers, a fun TOS adventure that starts a saga. So it is not, that's the one thing though, it is not a complete story. It is the beginning of a story. So, and then you're gonna, obviously, if you're gonna pick it up, you know that it's book 1 of 7. So, but you know what, the book tricked me, and I will warn you so that it does not trick you, because I don't typically look ahead. So I was thinking that there was a fair amount of book left, you know, but they did a little tricky little thing, and I will warn all of you. At the end of this book, the story itself reads 237 pages, but then there's an additional, 20 or so pages here. Look, so look, there's the end of the book. There's the book itself, and there's the ending. Look at all these extra pages in there. I thought that there was so much more going on, but in fact, it is just simply an excerpt from Sir Apropos of Nothing, which is a Peter David book. I didn't read it because I felt it would have like jarred the experience, you know, before I talked about this book. So I didn't do that, but I might go back and do that at some point. And I do want to point out too that, look, for this little excerpt, they did little tiny text. So you got your regular text and you get little tiny text, right? So I guess they wanted to fit more onto the page. But anyway, it's a bit of a trick because you're reading the book and you're like, well, there's at least a chapter or two more to go here, and then all of a sudden, boom, book's gone. Now the book isn't gone, the book is still here, but the book is done. So, unexpected, exciting cliffhanger came up. I liked that, and now I've spoiled you to that. I hope you don't mind that. Anyway, you can leave now if you don't want to be spoiled any further. We're going to talk a little bit about the story itself, from which we will directly reference our notes here. Star Trek One Small Step. I started this book on the 13th of July, finished it today on the 24th of July. 237 pages, published in 2001, written by Susan Wright. Again, the prologue of the book is the final quarter of the episode, That Which Survives. And which basically is very interesting. And it's kind of when I started the book, I was like, wow, it seems like they're jumping right into an episode. And that's what they were doing. So anyway, this is Losira. And Losira basically has the ability to touch, and by her touch, I wrote it down, hold on. Cellular degradation. And basically just kill you simply through a touch. So kind of the premise of the episode is that they're on this planet. The Enterprise has been whisked away, 1,000 light years away, by this energy from the planet. And Sulu, Bones, a geologist, and Kirk are on the planet trying to figure out what happened. And then the geologist, Dr. Diamato, I think, is killed by Losira here, who comes for him. Basically, each one of these Losira duplicates is like specific to a person, and when they touch that person, they're out. The episode made me think of kind of like a ridiculous game of tag, and like I feel like if this Losira had just maybe reached out a little bit more, she probably could have touched Kirk. And but anyway, I'm not going to go into the episode. You'll have to watch that yourself if you want to kind of see what happens there. But it is funny, and it will make you think of a kind of a very ridiculous game of tag. And you don't want to get tagged by Losira, that's for sure. So, but in the end, Spock is able to, well, Spock and Scotty are able to get the Enterprise back to the planet in time to save Bones, Sulu, and Kirk from the Losiras. And basically what happened is they're looking around the planet. They find their way to the door to the chamber that gets them in, and they're actually like a typical hidden door fashion. That it opens by saying the entrance is here, and then the door opens up and they go inside. But inside there's this cube computer hanging from the ceiling, and this is the defense computer. It controls all the defense properties, all these Losiras that get replicated. So here at the end of the episode, in the beginning of the book, you've got these 3 Losiras that are all coming to get Kirk, Bones, and Sulu. But then at the very last moment, and this, I always thought this was kind of funny too. At the very last moment, Spock and a security officer beam down, and Kirk is like, Spock, shoot that security computer. And then the security officer is just like, pew, and blasts it and blows it up, and then the 3 things disappear. And that's basically like the end of the episode, right? And they kind of go away, and I guess what I like here is there was somebody that was like, man, we need to take that episode and build upon that, because there was something going on there that was interesting. All right, we don't need to see her anymore. She can go away. But anyway, I like that they decided to pick that episode, because it is very strange that there was a lot going on, and then the episode just kind of ended, and they took off, according to the episode. But this book takes that ending and then adds a whole big story onto it. So basically what happens is when they try to leave, the transporter biofilter says, you guys are infected with something, and you're going to have to stay on the planet. And it turns out they have caught the infection, which killed all of the Kalandans, millennia ago. So now they are trapped on the planet trying to find some sort of solution to this disease. So they begin, first off, searching throughout the complex to try to see if they can find more rooms, find more things. And the funny way that they do this is by basically going to each section of the wall and trying their voice commands. Like, the entrance is here. Move over 2 steps. The entrance is here. The entrance is here. So Sulu and Reinhardt basically go around the room, the entrance is here, the entrance is here, all the way around until they find more passages and are able to explore this station further, where they find that it's an extensive science station, but obviously abandoned long, long, long ago. And of course, I'm leaving out the part where they do this, at the end of the episode, a kind of a computer screen comes up, and Losira reveals that she was the final commander of the station. The station was infected with a virus that killed everyone aboard, and this was the last warning, and she was enabling the defense, to stop everybody else from coming through. So that's kind of how that one ends. So, oh goodness, there's so much to talk about, and I've already been going for 14 minutes. Let's see. Where were we? Alright, so they found these science stations. You've got Sulu and Reinhardt kind of looking around trying to find something. And then you've got Bones working on the virus, along with, communicating with people on the ship. And it's kind of fun. They have a little point where, like, again, there's a lot of like fun, like technobabble in this one that I really like, and that they're talking about. And I could totally see Bones saying this too. And like he's working with a botanist on the Enterprise via computer, trying to kind of figure out where the virus is coming from and what it's doing. And they kind of figure out that it's something that's plant based. You know, that somehow the plant is producing these spores, and then because of that, they're not able to clear it out. And then Bones exclaims, "The gamma globulins! It's in the gamma globulins!" Like that, I get to see that. So, like I love that. The gamma globulins. It's in the gamma globulins. You got to look in the gamma globulins, and that's why they globulin gamma globulin gamma. That's a tongue twister. It's in the gamma globulin. Okay, we're not going to try to say that anymore. Anyway, they figure out where it is from, but they still don't have a solution for stopping it. So now let's introduce the other players to the game here. A Klingon ship has also detected basically the energy surge from when the Enterprise was transported so far away, right? And in addition to that, there's another ship, the Petrol, a Petrol scout ship. And the Petrol are a new introduction here into Star Trek, at least I believe. And they are very, very intriguing. Very intriguing. So she gives you several like looks inside who they are and kind of like what their setup is like. And they're almost like they're from like they're humanoid. They describe themselves as kind of humanoid. They change themselves to look like Kalandans. Basically, that's their plan. They want to come in and pretend like they're the Kalandans coming back, even though they just detected the surge. And they're just coming for the technology. But they come from, basically, they call it their birthing world. And almost like they're like a hive-like species, but they're humanoid, you know? They have these matriarchs, they have these birthing pods, and there's certain Petrol that are scouts and certain Petrol that are defenders. So very much like a humanoid bee kind of thing. I don't know. So I think that this species continues throughout the series. So I'm sure we're going to learn more. But they were very interesting. And basically what they do is they adapt themselves to the situation. They modify their bodies, whatever they have to do. They learn about their targets, and that's exactly what they do here. They learn all about the Enterprise, they monitor their communications, they get right in and figure out a plan to kind of sneak in and pretend they're the Klandans, claim this technology, and take it back to their birthing world. Now, when they get to the planet, the Klingons are also at the planet as well. And then they make short work of the Klingons using their quantum torpedoes, which I thought was kind of cool. Quantum torpedo. They don't come in until down the line, but these dudes, they got some quantum torpedoes. Blow up the Klingons basically with one shot, right? And then, in addition to that, offer the Enterprise crew the cure for the virus, you know? They kind of spent some time examining it, and with their almost like Borg-like assimilated technology, they had enough knowledge to kind of figure this out, and they're able to offer the cure to the virus. And they offer that in exchange for, exploring the station together, basically. And you have this interesting dynamic where they give you a look into the crew of the Petrol ship. The commander is Tasm, Tasm, and the commander is chosen basically as the person who first noticed the event. And since this person was on watch when this energy thing came on, they were the one that was in charge of it, and then they lead the mission to do it. So she comes up with this plan. There's this other Petrol named Luz, who is a little bit like opposed to her plan, But anyway, she goes along with it anyway, and each of them has to pick out like a target and learn their target, and then the idea is to kind of get in there with them so that they can ingratiate themselves with them and then eventually take the technology is the end goal. So yeah, so they do that, and they get down to the station. They do a lot more exploring. They find living quarters. They estimate there's probably hundreds of scientists that lived there at some point. And basically when they built and started doing this station, in the act of doing that, they created this virus. And the virus, too, is a very terrible thing because it is again, it's a plant-based virus, but when you get it, they had no cure for it, and it takes months to kill you. So all of the scientists and everybody on this station basically died slowly over a long period of time, which is why they were commenting when they were going through the living quarters, everything's packed up, everything's closed up, because these people died slowly. It wasn't like a quick emergency thing. So I thought that was very interesting too. And then they're able to again keep exploring. They finally discover the command center for the place, and they're able to there interact with another kind of like a hologram or whatever of Losira, who's able to give them information about the station. But every time they ask a question pertaining to really anything important, she's like, no, you have to talk to the defense computer. And unfortunately, the defense computer was shot by Reinhardt earlier in the end of the episode, right? So, working together with the Petrol, Kirk is able to, the Petrol is able to ask basically the right question, which is like, can we see to repair the defense computer? And then they're given access to this new area where they're able to find the broken down computer, and then also finally the gateway, the gateway the whole book is based upon. But anyway, in that area they find this gateway, and then the gateway kind of activates and shows the last thing that happened, which was apparently Losira heading through the gateway, like the real Losira. So anyway, she's heading through the gateway, and this after image of her is there. So they kind of realize what they're looking at, and this is the interdimensional transporter. So now the Petrol are like, okay, we have to get this thing back to our birthing world. Everybody there from the Enterprise is like, well, we can't let this thing fall into the wrong hands, of course. So you got these two different things going on, and the Petrol are basically, they're being very nice. They're kind of working their way into all their different targets, trying to make sure they're doing the right thing to make sure everybody, is going along with their plan. Kirk, though, still suspicious, never kind of buys into the whole thing. It all kind of falls apart in the end for the Petrol when, again, they have this kind of dispute between their leader and Luz, who's the kind of the more expressive of them. And they end up putting Luz kind of in solitary confinement for a little bit after an argument, right? And then when Luz gets out, it seems like she kind of goes over the edge at this point. And she thinks that the only thing that she can do is to get this gateway back to her birthing world, somehow, some way. So she sabotages kind of everything, gets herself down to the planet, makes everybody think on the planet that the Klingons are coming, so kind of everybody else beams off, and she's down on the planet herself. And again, this was a spot too, I thought, she outdid everybody. And I thought that Spock was going to get her too. Spock didn't get her in the end. She hypo-sprayed and phasered everybody, was able to make it to this gateway, and then realizing that she couldn't take the gateway through the gateway, obviously, basically removed the component that makes the gateway work, and was going to take that through the gateway to her birthing world. All right. At the last minute, Tasm and Kirk kind of bust in, realizing what was going on, and then Tasm starts struggling with her for this thing. She's already halfway through the gateway, and pulling it off the machine, which I thought, that's very trusting. I guess she knew there was some kind of safety, but you got yourself halfway through a gateway, and you're reaching out of the gateway, and you're grabbing the thing that's making the gateway work, and you're yanking it out, and you're cutting it out of there. Anyway, she did get it out, and the gateway is still operational. They're struggling for it. Kirk, at the last minute, is like, what am I going to do? I can't let them get away with this thing. So he jumps through the gateway, too. Right? Scotty, Sulu, and I think Bones come down, trying to see what's happening. determine that Kirk must have went through the gateway. They kind of see that same after image that we talked about before, right? Spock realizing that his captain is gone. The Klingons are actually on the way. This station has to go. He sets a phaser on overload, right next to basically a spot that was a geometric field generator, so that once this thing hits this, the whole place is going to blow. They set it to blow for 5 minutes. They run, they go, they get to the ship, they get out of there. Boom. End of book. That's it. Like, what the heck, right? So, I have no idea what happened to Kirk. I have no idea how he's going to get back to the Enterprise. I have no idea how this whole thing is even going to continue whatsoever. But I tell you what, I'm excited to find out. So tomorrow, or actually probably later tonight, we are going to jump right into book 2, which we are going to eat through like a delicious sandwich, I believe, because I'm going to have some time tomorrow to do so, I believe. But anyway, Gateways, book 1 of 7. So much fun. Watch the episode before or don't. Watch it after. Yeah, whatever you want to do. But read the book and read more Star Trek books and watch more Star Trek episodes and, play with Star Trek toys and do whatever generally makes you happy and gives you a stress-free life. Because that's what you need to do. Thanks for listening to me talk about this book. I didn't talk about a lot, but I talked about enough to fill up 26 minutes of fun. Oh, one more thing. I love the way and the effect, you can see it in the episode, that they had the Losira appear and disappear, which is through a black line, and then she comes out, and then the same way she goes away. It's very cool. And I was picturing it the whole time, and then when I saw it in the episode, I was like, yes, that's exactly what I thought, and they did it so well, back in the 60s or whatever. That was great. So anyway, as always, everybody, live long and prosper. We'll see you all in the next one. Good night.